Hello, this is video lecture number 62. Today we are talking about the new metropolis. For our subsections we have the shape of the industrial city, newcomers and neighborhoods, and finally city cultures. So as the United States moved west across the continent, new cities sprang up upon sites where only a few years before the buffalo had literally roamed. Even cities with origins dating back to the early colonial era remained relatively undeveloped until well into the 19th century. But even as American cities during the second half of the 19th century spread out horizontally, new technology allowed builders to raise cities vertically as well. Moreover, the dramatic appearance of the tall office building and later the skyscraper called for a new and revolutionary aesthetic. Cities changed how Americans lived, and many people saw cities as places of opportunity, as evident from the explosive population growth that cities experienced. But cities had their critics as well. There were fears of city life and its effect on the older order of things. The interdependence of city life seemed to threaten the rugged individualism associated with rural America and the frontier. Also, not to mention the miserable living conditions endured by immigrants and the poor in certain sections of New York City alone. So let's have a closer look at the new metropolis with our first subsection today, the shape of the industrial city. The commercial cities of the early 19th century were densely settled around harbors and riverfronts. A downtown area emerged, and industrial development followed the arteries of transportation all the way to the outskirts of the city, where concentrations of industry were formed. Travel in the larger American cities was difficult and challenged the ingenuity of city builders. In 1887, Frank J. Sprague's electrical trolley car became the main mode of transportation in the cities. The trolley car had replaced the horse car, which had in turn replaced the omnibus. Now, congestion in the cities led to the development of elevated and underground transportation. With Manhattan's subway, mass transit became rapid transit. Suburbs developed in response to mass transportation developments, beginning with the railroad. Also, by 1900, Alexander Graham Bell's newly invented telephone linked urban people in a network of instant communication. With steel girders and passenger elevators available by the 1880s, Chicago soon pioneered skyscraper construction, though New York eventually took the lead after the mid-1890s. The first use of electricity was for better city lighting, and Thomas Edison's invention of a serviceable incandescent light bulb in 1879 put electric lighting in American homes. So let's move to the next section then, newcomers and neighborhoods. The explosive growth of America's urban population made cities a world of newcomers, including millions of immigrants from overseas. The biggest ethnic group in Boston was the Irish. In Minneapolis, it was the Swedes. And in most other northern cities, it was the Germans. Arriving in the metropolis, immigrants confronted many difficulties. Patterns of settlement varied by ethnic group. Many Italians, recruited by labor bosses, found work in northeastern and mid-Atlantic cities. Their urban concentration was especially marked after the 1880s, as more and more immigrants, especially men, arrived from southern Italy. Sharply defined ethnic neighborhoods, such as San Francisco's Chinatown, Italian North Beach, and Jewish Hayes Valley, grew up in every major city. They were driven both by discrimination and by immigrants' desire to simply stick together. Now, a great African-American migration occurred from the rural South to northern cities, and it began at the turn of the century. But urban blacks could not escape discrimination. Job opportunities were few, and they retreated into ghettos to live. Race riots periodically plagued the black community, often targeting black business districts. Whether they arrived from the rural South, or from Europe, or from Mexico, or Asia, working-class city residents needed cheap housing near their jobs. As urban land values climbed, speculators tore down older houses that had been vacated by middle-class families moving to the suburbs. In their place, they erected 5- or 6-story tenements, buildings that housed 20 or more families in cramped, airless apartments. So our last section today is city cultures. Despite their many dangers and problems, industrial cities could also be exciting places to live, places where people could challenge older mores. By the turn of the 20th century, new mass-based entertainments had emerged among the working classes and especially among the youth. At the same time, the great cities proved to be stimulating centers for intellectual life, from museums and opera houses to news magazines. One enticing attraction for city dwellers was the vaudeville theater, which arose in the 1880s and 1890s. For 25 cents, these theaters invited customers to walk in at any time and watch a continuous sequence of musical acts, skits, juggling, magic, and other types of entertainment. Even more spectacular were great amusement parks that appeared around 1900, most famously at New York's Coney Island. These parks had their origins in World's Fairs, whose free educational exhibits proved less popular than their paid entertainment areas. Popular music also became a booming business in the industrial city. By the 1890s, Tin Pan Alley, the nickname for New York City's song publishing district, produced dozens of such national hit tunes as A Bicycle Built for Two and My Wild Irish Rose. African-American artists brought a syncopated beat that by the 1890s began to work its way into mainstream hits, like A Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight. Black performers soon became stars in their own right with the rise of ragtime. Ragtime was apparently named for its ragged rhythm, which combined a steady beat in the bass, played with the left hand on a piano, and syncopated offbeat rhythms in the treble, played with the right hand. In the city, many young people found parental oversight weaker than it had been in previous generations. Amusement parks and dance halls helped foster the new custom of dating, which, like many other cultural innovations, emerged first among the working class. Gradually, it became more and more acceptable for a young man to escort a young woman out on the town for commercial entertainments, rather than spending the evening at home under parents' watchful eyes. For young people, dating opened a new world of pleasure, adventure, and danger. Dating was a hallmark of an urban world in which large numbers of residents were young and single. Seeking jobs, greater personal freedom, or both, young unmarried women moved to urban areas in large numbers. In addition to informal and casual heterosexual relationships, many industrial cities developed gay subcultures. A gay world flourished in New York, for example, including an array of drinking and meeting places. For elites, the rise of great cities offered an opportunity to build museums, libraries, and other cultural institutions which could flourish only in major metropolitan centers. Millionaires patronized the arts, partly to advance themselves socially, but also out of a sense of civic duty and national pride. The arrival of Sunday color comics like F.G. Outcalt's The Yellow Kid, 1894, lent their name to yellow journalism, a derogatory term used for mass-market newspapers. By 1900, such magazines as Collier's and McClure's introduced middle-class readers to the work of such reporters as Ida Tarba, who exposed the machinations of John D. Rockefeller, and David Graham Phillips, whose Treason of the Senate, published in Cosmopolitan in 1906, documented the deference of U.S. senators, especially Republicans, to wealthy corporate interests. Expose journalists usually lived and worked in these big cities where their magazines were published. President Roosevelt dismissed them as muckrakers who focused too much on the negative side of American life, but their influence was profound. They inspired thousands of readers to get involved in reform movements and tackle the problems that were caused by this growing industrialization. Okay, so that's it for today. The new Metropolis. At this time, go ahead and answer your review questions and continue your work.